Let's be brutally honest for a second. How many times have you looked in the mirror after making faithful donations to the gym for 6 months? Chugging expensive protein shakes, then you realize your muscles still look as flat as they did on the first day? What do you think went wrong? You didn't lift heavy enough? Or maybe you just didn't grunt loud enough on the bench press? Dead wrong. Millions of guys are actively destroying their chances of doubling their gains because of a fatal gym disease: ego lifting. Stacking the bar with way too much weight, but only moving it about 2 inches. There's a crazy biological loophole that these half-rep heroes are completely missing. It doesn't cost a single dime, but it does require you to leave your ego at the door. Science calls it stretch-focused training. And today we're going to dissect exactly why that 1 single inch you keep skipping is the ultimate biological secret to how to build muscle faster. All right, put on your lab coats and let's dive into the biology behind this. Whenever you lift weights, your muscles contract to push the weight up, and they stretch out to lower the weight back down. Simple, right? But the ultimate plot twist of your entire workout doesn't happen when you push. The real growth only happens when you lower the weight all the way down, forcing your muscle to stretch out tightly under the heavy load. Imagine your muscle is like a thick rubber band. When you stretch that rubber band with a heavy dumbbell to the point where it feels like it's about to snap, the contractile units inside your muscles sense this absolute panic. Do you think your body just sits there and takes it? Absolutely not. To survive, your body smashes the emergency alarm. It triggers a highly complex chemical reaction, screaming at your nervous system, "Holy crap! Build more muscle immediately, the rubber band is going to break." The guys in the white lab coats call this survival mechanism stretch-mediated hypertrophy. In plain English, lifting weights without lowering them deep enough to stretch. The muscle is like drawing a bow without pulling the string back. You wouldn't even kill a mosquito with that shot, let alone break through your muscle-building plateau. And trust me, you won't believe your eyes when you see what this rubber band effect can actually do. Are you ready for the hard evidence? Now I know exactly what you're thinking. But bro, the biggest guy at my gym with the sleeveless hoodie said I just need to lift heavier. Stop right there. Don't listen to the gym rumors, and definitely don't listen to the guy screaming on the bench press. Let's look at the hard, undeniable science. I've compiled 4 out of this world studies here that are about to make the ego lifters absolutely sob. Study number 1, published just last year, looked at the biceps using the preacher curl bench. They split the subjects into 2 groups, the top half and the bottom half. Wondering what that even means? Let me break it down for you, half-rep heroes. Imagine your arms resting on that slanted pad. The midpoint is when your arm forms a perfect 90-degree L shape. The top half group only curled the weight from 90 degrees up to the shoulder, the part where the muscle gets squeezed tight but gets absolutely zero stretch. The bottom half group? They lowered the weight from 90 degrees until their arm was dead straight, the exact spot where the muscle gets stretched by the weight to the point of absolute agony. And guess what? After 5 weeks, the group that endured the pain in that stretch zone grew 2.6 times bigger than the dudes just flexing in the top half. 2.6 times, just by hanging out at the bottom. Study number 2 applied this exact idea to your quads using the leg extension machine. They compared the bottom half where your shins are tucked under the seat, and your quads are stretched tighter than a snare drum against the top half in the full movement. Guess which group saw the most growth after 12 weeks? Yep, the partial stretch group. They literally beat the group doing the full range of motion. Kicking your legs up for the pump is useless if you don't lower the weight all the way down to get that brutal stretch. Now, what about exercises specifically designed to put your muscles into a stretched position right from the start? Enter study number 3, the triceps, that big chunk of meat on the back of your arm. Using a standard cable machine, subjects did basic pushdowns with one arm, keeping the elbow glued to the ribs. With the other arm, they did overhead extensions, pulling the cable from behind their head. Here's the catch: raising your arm up by your ear forces that entire back of the arm muscle into a massive, deeply uncomfortable stretch right from the get-go. After 12 weeks, the overhead arm grew 1.5 times bigger. It didn't just grow one little section, it made the entire arm absolutely explode in size. Micro hook. By the way, can we take a quick second to applaud the subjects in this study? These absolute legends are literally walking around right now with one arm, 1.5 times bigger than the other. All for science. Drop a comment saying "for science" down below to show your respect. All right, let's move on to the final piece of evidence. Study number 4, targeting your hamstrings. They compared the seated leg curl to the lying leg curl. Time for a quick no BS anatomy lesson. Think of the muscles on the back of your legs like a thick bungee cord connecting your butt to your knees. When you sit upright in that chair, you bend at the waist. That posture instantly yanks that bungee cord incredibly tight before you even move the weight. But when you lie flat on your stomach, you take all the tension off, letting that bungee cord go completely slack. Based on the rubber band theory we just talked about, which machine dominated? Of course, the seated curl. After 12 weeks, sitting up caused significantly more muscle growth, purely because it emphasized that brutal, agonizing stretch. The science is crystal clear, guys. Stop ego lifting, stop focusing on the squeeze, and start stretching. But how do we actually apply this without looking like an idiot at the gym? Let's dive into the practical tips. All right, we've got the science. Now, how do we stop wasting time and actually apply this to your workouts? Rule number 1 of the Stretch Focus Survival Guide: the absolute bottom position of your lift. When the weight is at its lowest point is a biological goldmine for muscle growth. Cutting this part of the movement short is practically a criminal offense to your gains. Let's get straight to business with the exercises you're probably already doing. First, the bench press. Next time you're on the bench, I don't care how many plates are on the bar. You need to bring that bar all the way down until it physically touches your chest. Want to level up? Drop the barbell and grab some heavy dumbbells. Because there's no bar to stop you, dumbbells allow your hands to drop lower than your torso, forcing your pecs into a painfully deep, chest-tearing stretch. And for the love of all things holy, let's talk about squats. When you squat, you need to actually sit down. You must go down to at least parallel where your thighs are perfectly parallel to the floor, or even deeper if your mobility allows it. Half squats only build half legs. Now, let me completely crush your illusions about doing this easily. Getting to the bottom is only half the battle. You have to control the weight on the way down. The bottom is the hardest, most agonizing part of the lift. And because human beings naturally hate extreme tension, your brain is going to beg you to use momentum. You'll be tempted to dive bomb the weight and bounce it out of the bottom like a human pogo stick. Stop cheating. That bounce completely robs your muscle of the tension it desperately needs to grow. You need to lower the weight slowly. Embrace the suck. Feel that intense pull as your muscle fibers are put under deep mechanical stress. Surviving that ultimate zero momentum stretch at the bottom, that is exactly what forces your body to build real muscle. Let me be perfectly clear, you don't need to invent weird circus act exercises balancing on a bouncy ball to trigger this growth. The old school gym classics, the bench press and squats, will stretch your muscles beautifully, as long as you aren't doing those pathetic half reps we just talked about. But there are a few stubborn, high-maintenance muscles that demand a little extra torture. The guys in lab coats call them biarticulate muscles. In plain English? It just means these muscles are like a hammock tied between two different trees or joints. If you only move one tree, the hammock stays loose. To actually stretch it to the max, you have to lock your body into very specific positions to pull both ends of the hammock tight at the exact same time. If you want to maximize your gains, here is your ultimate weapon list for these stubborn muscles. For your hamstrings and triceps, we already gave you the cheat codes earlier. Seated leg curls and overhead extensions, do not skip them. But what about the others? Let's talk about the front of your arms, the biceps. Standard standing curls are great, but to stretch the entire bicep hammock, your elbows actually need to be trapped behind your body. Jump on a slanted bench for incline dumbbell curls. Let your arms hang dead straight toward the floor, slightly behind your back, and feel that brutal pull before you even start to curl. Lastly, the glutes, your butt. Forget doing those awkward, tiny little kickbacks on the cable machine. If you want to build a serious lower body, you need heavy weights and a deep stretch. Your best weapons are Romanian deadlifts, where you push your hips far back to stretch the glutes, deep squats, and Bulgarian split squats. These brutal movements force your glutes to stretch open to their absolute limit at the very bottom of the rep. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. Consider this a high level. Advanced warning, do not use this next tactic on heavy spinal loading exercises like squats, deadlifts, or heavy overhead presses. It will completely fry your nervous system and leave you absolutely destroyed. This technique, known as lengthened partials, should only be used on the very last set of safe, isolated exercises. Think dumbbell presses, pec flies, leg extensions, tricep extensions, or bicep curls. Here's the secret to wringing every last drop of growth out of your muscle. You do your set with perfect, full range of motion until you hit absolute failure. You literally cannot push the weight all the way up one more time. But instead of dropping the weight and giving up, you stay in the trenches. You let the weight force you back down into that agonizing deep stretch position, and you just do tiny half reps right there at the bottom. You keep bouncing in that stretch zone until your muscle completely gives out and collapses. By doing this, you are artificially forcing your body to maximize its time in that biological goldmine. Look, science is always evolving. I've been wrong in the past, and I've made mistakes in my own training. But failure is the greatest teacher you will ever have. Start applying these stretch-focused techniques to your next workout. There are literally zero downsides to trying this, except maybe having to buy a whole new wardrobe of bigger shirts because your old ones don't fit your new arms. If you are finally ready to stop guessing and start using actual science to shortcut your physical transformation, I've compiled all of this cutting-edge research into my new and improved 2.0 training programs. Head over to billingscience.com or click the link in the description to join our community. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and get ready to push the boundaries of your potential. I'll see you in the lab.